All right, we are live. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of the DPT to CEO podcast, where we do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and all with the intention of helping you learn how to start a successful solo practice and do whatever you want as a clinician and live your best life. And so today we have a really special episode. If you end up liking this content, please leave a like below and comment and let us know. I'm really excited to be able to share with you not just my own perspective, but the perspective of three amazing and very smart individuals here who have been along for the journey as well. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about trends in cash practice and like the do's, the don'ts, things that we've succeeded at, things not succeeded at, to help you, along your journey as you're getting into business. And so if you are a physical therapist, occupational therapist, or healthcare provider, and you're wanting to start your own solo practice, please, check out the links down below. We do still have a couple of spots available for our DPT to CEO coaching program, and we'd love to talk to you. So you can find all that information down below. And without further ado, we'll get into our episode today. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. The vibes are high here, I think.
We're so excited.
But yeah, this is definitely going to be, this is the first time we've done this, like a four person like group discussion. So it's definitely, I think, going to be a lot of fun to share. But I figure, we can start off with just kind of introducing ourselves. And so you guys who are watching, who are listening, you'll get to know us a little bit better and like what our deal is and what we do now to help provide context as we are, offering our advice and 2 cents throughout this episode. So maybe let's start off with Trisha. Do you want to go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm Trish, and I am a virtual assistant / physical therapist, and I handle the administrative portion of DPT to CEO. I've pulled back to pretty much just you as my client, but as a virtual assistant, my main goal, my why has been to help therapists kind of be able to, well, not just therapists, but people in healthcare be able to do what they love. So I'm kind of taking care of the things that are the not fun parts of the business. That's my niche, I guess, but it kind of is a broad one as far as it's whatever you guys don't like to do, I'm doing. So no, pretty much when you started was around when I started. So we're at 5 years now. Yep.
Look at
Happy
us.
Anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary, Trisha. That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Kirk.
Hello. So I'm Taylor, and I, within like the DPT to CEO team, I essentially am the marketing assistant / specialist. So I help Morgan with all of her content and all of her clients that she has as done-for-you marketing clients do their content. And then most recently, I have transitioned to doing the websites for all the DPT to CEO students. So when somebody comes on, if they choose the one-on-one coaching service, I am the one that builds their website or does audits if we already have a website. So like that's what I do for the DPT to CEO team. And then for my own business, my business name is The Pelvic Marketer. I have been in business for a little over a year now, which is wild. Kind of like Trisha talked as far as like I kind of pulled back as well. I had a baby in July, so he kind of takes all of my mental capacity at this point. But so right now I'm mostly doing work with Morgan, but when like prior to that, I was helping other healthcare practices with marketing. So digital marketing specifically, content marketing, and all that fun stuff. So that's kind of my niche, specifically in like the pelvic health realm is what I like most, but I like working with all therapists and healthcare providers. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yay. Thank you for sharing. Samantha, lay it on us.
I actually am probably the newest member of this team. So I met everybody because I went through this program myself about a year ago, which is crazy to think about, but I actually just celebrated my 1 year of leaving outpatient PT in September. So it's been a crazy year, whirlwind. I actually run my own cash-based practice, which is with tennis and pickleball, function physical therapy. I absolutely love it. I'm in the Dallas area. So if you're in Dallas or Texas like this, leave a comment and I will give it back to you. And then I had just joined the team as an assistant coach. So I help Morgan with some of the coaching in the program, which I've honestly just grown to love so much. I love meeting new people and seeing what other people are doing and just helping them build their own practices because I know my life is so much better today versus a year ago or even 2 years ago. So yeah, it's just been a great journey. I'm not as tech savvy as Trish and Taylor, but I help with the coaching side of this.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. And if this is your first time listening as well, my name's Morgan. I made up DPT to CEO. I also have my own cash-based practice, but basically all of us are here, to continue to better healthcare for our patients and also better careers for healthcare providers. Really firmly believe that you don't have to be miserable to work in your career. Like, you can actually enjoy it and get to do fun things. That's kind of the vibe here. But I appreciate all of you guys sharing that stuff. And Sam, I'm glad that you mentioned where you are for a couple reasons. One, like we have this team, which is really cool. We're all across the country. So like Sam's in Texas, Trisha's in New Jersey, Taylor's in Kansas, I'm in Nevada. So if you have questions about any time zone, we can help you with this. And like along with that, we've also had like the privilege to be able to work with clients and other practice owners also across the country, from Florida to California, New Hampshire to Wyoming. There's people everywhere that we are helping get this going, but also Texas. I don't know what's in the water there. I don't know what the deal is, but I swear like 1 in every 3 people I talk to lives in Texas, specifically Austin, Houston, and Dallas. So, I think we were going to talk about this later as far as like success goes, but if you're in Texas, I think you're like a leg up on everybody else.
I don't know what it is, but I know it seems like everyone in the program is like Austin, Dallas, Houston. Like, hey, I'll come say hi.
Yeah, we're just gonna send Sam on a road trip around Texas.
Honestly,
to go talk to everybody. So, if this is your first time tuning in, you can learn a little bit more about us and kind of what we're all about. But then today, what I really want to dive into is, like we talked about, kind of like trends in cash-based practice, trends in working for yourself as a healthcare provider, and like what our experiences have been and what we're seeing with the other people that we work with. So, if you're first getting into this, or if you're in the mix and are just like curious as to what's working for other people, this is the episode to listen to. So let's get in. We have a few different topics that I wanted to talk about. But I guess like for the first piece here, I know we all have different stories and like different times that we got into like working for ourselves. But the first question I wanted to, talk to you guys about was, what do you feel like the turning point was for you when you knew it was time to leave the corporate or insurance-based model of healthcare? Open the floor.
It was just yesterday when I decided to make the jump. I graduated PT school in 2022, which really isn't that long ago. And I took a job right out of school. I was actually working before I even walked the stage because it was just like that adamant that I'd be there. And then I did the outpatient physical therapy thing. I loved it. I loved being a physical therapist. About 3 months in, I had the full caseload. And then the company that I worked with had basically an incentive to see more people. That's how you made your money, because the starting pay was really low, even for Texas. And so I just kind of slowly took on more and more roles. My clinic director left to go on maternity leave about, I think, 3 months in, and had no plan for what to do. He had a student at the same time. So I took on a student and I took on taking over the clinic 3 months into being a physical therapist with a full caseload. And we made it work, but it was just honestly hell for a while. And I got promoted to clinic director, which I was really excited about, but nothing dropped on my caseload end. And I was required to do more things and have meetings. So I was working weekends. I felt like I was working 80-hour weeks and I was getting paid salary. And I just kind of looked up one day and I was like, by Wednesday, I was exhausted. I couldn't even hang out with my friends. I didn't want to take my dog on a walk. I was just beat. And I was thinking to myself, like, is this really my life for the next 20 years? And I got a little nervous. And so I actually reached out to Morgan because I had been following her podcast for a while. And I wanted to wait 5 years to start my own practice. And I had signed a contract to stay for 2 years, where I had to repay a sign-on bonus. And so I talked to Morgan. She basically told me, she's like, well, you have 3 options. You can stay, you can go part-time, or you can just quit. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit.
I love that so much. Like, I feel like I think like after the first time we talked, Sam, it was either like you sent me an email or the next time that we had talked after like our initial consultation, you're like, yes, I quit my job. And I was like, oh my God.
I was like, life is not that serious. That was my philosophy at the point. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I was a 4-week notice, so I still worked for 4 more weeks, and then I started my own company, and we hit the ground running, and that was, I guess, last August, September. And now, like yesterday, it's just so crazy. Like yesterday, I was able to go see my grandparents in the middle of the day because they moved to Dallas. And so it's just like, I never would have been able to do that 2 years ago or a year ago. So I don't know. It's just, I think the turning point for me is like, I cannot imagine doing this for the next 10 years, 20 years. And I was like, something's got to change. And so that's whenever I decided to make the leap.
Yay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I resonate with that so much because I feel like I had a pretty similar story that I was like 4 months into my first big girl job, and I was like, I don't feel like I should be like crying at every lunch break that I have, like because I'm so exhausted. So I'm gonna not do this anymore and figure something else out. What about you guys? Trisha, Taylor, what was the turning point where you're like, maybe I'll do something else?
Trish, go for it.
Okay. So I was in subacute, and same as Sam, I loved it. I love PT. But man, we talked about this when I did my interview with you, kind of like worked my way up to, senior PT. And I got really tired of just kind of being told what to do on certain things there was a lot of red tape, things that we had to do because, yes, it's still a business and things like that. And after a while, I was like, man, this is just like not helping my patients. And I was getting tired of it. But the other thing on the flip side was I knew I wanted to start a family. So eventually I was like, I need to figure out what I can do because I don't want to, like Sam's saying, like you can't be with your family. You can't do this, you can't do that. So I knew I wanted to be with my kids, especially for the first, initial first years or whatever. So I was like, I got to figure out a game plan now before my kids are actually here. So yeah, just started looking into things and jumped into being a virtual assistant, found Morgan very quickly somehow. I really don't understand how that happened, but very thankful for it. And then worked part-time as a PT while Morgan and I were, because you were still kind of building things up yourself. So, and you had your sister on, so there wasn't as much of a need right away. Honestly, a little scared to like completely go full into like being virtual assistant at the moment, because later on it was when I talked to Morgan to be like, I think I'm ready to take on more, how do I do this, whatever. But did that for goodness, almost 2 years being part-time or whatever. Then once I had my second daughter, was like, I'm out of here, just not doing it anymore.
Yeah. What do you think like helped, I guess, like with overcoming the fear of like fully going into it?
When I stepped back and looked at it, it was like, what do I have to lose? Because honestly, I was in the best situation possible. I know some of our students don't have that option. Like they are the breadwinner. They are either a single parent or whatever it is. And you have to make it work. And for me, it was like, okay, I'm home with my kids. I can always go back if I need to. I have my parents, to help watch the kids if I needed it. And my husband is the primary, income for us. So it was like, what do I have to lose? Let's just do this. So, talking to you about like, well, how do you think I should do this? It was like, just start talking to people. Like just tell people. It's as simple as that. And sure enough, like literally, I think you told me to post something. I did. And by that night I had another client. I was like, what was I waiting for?
It's like, it's so crazy because it's like the magic of like, just ask for what you want.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple and it can be so scary, but it really does help, to speak it into existence, like what you're looking for. Yep. Taylor, what was the last straw?
Oh, buddy.
I feel like you kind of had like a lot of last straws.
Yeah. So I did the fun, like, sounds terrible, but kind of like setting hopping, like trying to like, first I started an outpatient ortho and was like, okay, this is where I want to be. It's going to be great. It sucked. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try home health because it's going to give me more flexibility. I can have some of my time back. And it was fine, but it wasn't as like, I don't know, rewarding. Home health is just a really different ballgame. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go try hospital-based outpatient, but also be an acute care like therapist, in the process as well. And it just, I think it came down to like, I'm sure that you guys have experienced this and our students too, but it came down to realizing that like management is not always cut out for management. And like Trisha talked, being told what to do by somebody that you don't necessarily agree with is really hard to swallow day in and day out, especially when it comes to impacting like quality care for the patients. And so I think it really just was like a snowball effect of I graduated in 2020 and I worked until 2023, like in the clinic setting. And it was just like kind of one thing on top of another, where it was just like my mental health was not great. I thought that, you know, I would try something different and it would get better. I would try something different and it would get better. And it would just always end up back in the same place. I think it really just came down to like you guys talked, like, is this really what I want to do for the next however many years until I retire at 65? That sounds terrible. Sounds absolutely terrible. You know, kind of at that time when I first met Morgan, which again, I was prior to working for Morgan, I was a student of Morgan's. I didn't realize that what I was trying to do was going to impact or be considered like a violation of my non-compete for my current job. So that was a fun time. Like I kind of had to just like pivot. And I think that maybe sealed the deal for me as well, because it came down to like, I am one tiny fish in the sea. I'm not going to take income from this massive company that like even matters to them, but they're like so focused on being a big business that they won't let me, tiny little fish in the sea Taylor, just pursue something that would make me happier. So, you know, it was kind of that final straw of like, they don't really care about me as a person. So, you know, why would I continue putting effort into something that's not giving back in return? And it took, like you said, Morgan, like crying every lunch break. There was lots of tears, just trying to like figure out, because it is scary to like go out on your own and be like, I work for myself. Who's gonna pay me? Like, why would anybody pay me, you know, a wage that's worth my time? And like you said, Trisha, you just kind of start talking to people and things eventually kind of work out. So speaking it into existence is huge. I think that's a huge thing as far as it actually happening, and just mindset. The more you tell yourself something like, I'm gonna work for myself, the more likely that you're gonna go for it.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you don't believe in yourself, like, who will?
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And like it's so scary. And I know it can also be really hard, like when you're first starting out too, because like you're literally just making something up, like out of thin air. Like, you're just making it up, an entire business. And so because it's not so tangible, you know, and like you don't have like evidence yet that it's going to succeed. I think that's what like can make it really hard to really go like all into it. But you really just, you got to be delusional about it and just be like, look, the business is going to work. I have an actual business right now today, because that's what everybody else has done like this entire time.
When we go to school, like go to college for however many years, and then we go to grad school for however many years, and we know there's like all of these like checkpoints that we have to make. And then when you start your own business, it's like, I don't even know where to, like, what do I do? How do I do it? Which, Morgan, we can plug you into this, is DPT to CEO. We give you the way. We guide you.
We do have that as an option.
Right.
Head to morganmeese.com/DPT to CEO. Yeah, you know, like there's so many people out there like us, and then there are lots of other coaching programs too of people who have done it before, so that you don't have to try to figure it out on your own, because there's like so many different like decisions that you have to make. And you know, like we're all very smart, you know, we all have degrees and everything, so like you can figure it out on your own. It's gonna take a longer time because there's a lot of stuff to go through. And then I think like the emotional toll can just be a lot, you know, like it can be really frustrating and stressful. And, you know, being in a place where you don't necessarily have a ton of confidence, it's hard to do it on your own. So being with a coach, a mentor, or a group of people who can help you with that is definitely a good place to go. Yeah. So I think like all of that really helps, you know. So like our listeners out there, you're not alone if you're feeling this way, you know, like all of us have been through it, and it's unfortunate that so many healthcare providers do feel this way. But you know, there is something that you can do about it. There's so many ways that you can use your skills, whether it is like in private practice or getting into a non-clinical role, you have the ability to do so. So please know that. If you take one thing away, please take that away from this episode. And so getting into starting our own businesses, what do you guys think was the hardest part? Like if you think back to like first getting started, what was like the biggest challenge in starting your business?
Literally just doing it. But it's like, it sounds so silly, but I feel like the hardest part for me was just to take the leap to say, I'm going to do this. Because I mean, at least from a VA perspective, it's like, it's not like I have to, figure out if I'm doing brick and mortar or anything like that. I literally just had to say, I'm going to do this, and be able to formulate a thought to my fellow coworkers who thought I think a few of them thought I was insane, because it was like, you're gonna leave your job as a physical therapist. And I think the funny thing is, when I kept saying I'm a virtual assistant, I'm a VA, I think people thought I was working for the VA. Like,
yeah.
I was getting that a lot too. So they're like, so you're still a therapist? I'm like, well, yes, but I'm so it's just like, just making that jump and standing by what your decision was.
Yeah. I don't even know the hardest, I think the hardest part came down to just like having to wait out my contract so that I could leave. But yeah, I mean, it was just like having that like mental fortitude to be like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to bet on myself, and going for it. So I agree, Trisha. It's hard.
I'd say for me, it was making the mindset shift of, I was so excited to finally be my own boss, but then having the boss mindset of, now I am making all the decisions and there is no one else to blame but myself when stuff doesn't go right, or when people aren't coming in the door. And I think even me and Morgan has had this conversation in the past of, I was like, do I really want clients if I'm not acting like I want clients, or if I'm not making the action? So making sure I stay action oriented, and you can't really ever take a step back, especially in the very beginning. Like maybe later on, when you have a team and you delegate a little bit more, but especially in the beginning of making that mindset shift from being a PT in a system where there's always someone that I could blame, that because I didn't want to do the things that they were telling me to do. But when it's your own thing, it's you. So just making that mindset shift, I think, was a little challenging for me in the beginning, and then I loved it now, but
yeah, I think like a lot of it is like, so much of it is just like the mindset stuff, and like believing in yourself enough to start, like actually like initiating like the thing, and like believing in yourself as you're moving forward, and then switching from like almost like more of like an employee mindset where you just have to like show up. And then like sometimes I think about that and I'm like, man, it'd be so easy to just be like a staff PT right now, and you just like roll into the clinic and just and just go home. And obviously like we know that's not like 100% the case, but like when you go from being an employee to like now like literally all of the responsibility is on you, that's a totally different thing. And I think personally, I think we're all the better for it. Like I know like for myself, I feel like it's made me like a much stronger person in general, to like take on that kind of responsibility and make things happen. And so I mean, I've told all of you guys this, but I think building a business has just been a way to like work on my own like self-development as a human, which has been cool. Yeah. All the things. I'm just trying to think about like what else there was. I feel like another thing that was like kind of hard at the beginning is not letting like other people's opinions like sway you to change your decisions. Because it takes so much to even say like, okay, I'm starting a practice, and like this is how much I'm charging. And then if you get like one person who's like, oh, you're crazy, oh, like that's a dumb idea, or wow, that's like way too much, everything shatters. And so like building up like the mental fortitude, I think, is like also something that was like hard and challenging at the beginning too, with that, and just like not letting other people sway you. Did you guys like experience that as well?
For sure. I mean, I think that's something that I know every client that comes in the program. I haven't had one person that has not dealt with imposter syndrome at one point or another. Like you said, you're just building this out of thin air. Like this is just an idea you had that came to life. So you have to show up every day for it, and you have to believe in it every single day. And the days when waves, it's more challenging. But yeah, I definitely say the imposter syndrome is real, especially when you're doing something new. Of course, you're not going to be 100% confident in it. And if you are 100% confident in it, more power to you. But there's also probably something a little wrong with you. Like, maybe you're not seeing the whole picture. But yeah, I think it's good. It's good to be scared. It's good to have a little bit of an imposter syndrome. That means you're growing in the right way. Like, change should be uncomfortable, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think too, and Trisha, you can probably speak to this, but when leaving the clinical aspect of things, like shifting completely, starting a business, trying to explain to somebody, like you'd said, Trisha, like trying to explain to somebody what it is you're doing and why you're not going to be treating patients, like, is very challenging. Like, if I had $1 for every time that somebody asked me, what do you do again? Like, so you do a podcast? So you like make graphics? Like, and I think like it's important that, people watching this, or even just like the students in our program, know that like you said, Morgan, we have so much more to offer than just like we treat patients and that's it. Like, we can use our skills, and just like anybody else, you can learn anything new that you're interested in and implement it. Like, I knew nothing about marketing when I started working for Morgan. Like, thank goodness that you were able to mentor me through the process. But at the same time, like, it took a lot of like self motivation to research my own things and take the time to just learn. So I think that was also challenging too, when people would be like, you're going to do what now? Like, you're marketing? Like, when people think marketing, they think billboards on the highway or flyers posted at your local like coffee shop. And it's like, okay.
Taylor's about to school everybody in what marketing is.
So I think it's the funny thing is, I think people think like, oh my word, you went through all of this school and now you're not treating people. And I think that's like the big question, at least for like someone like Taylor and myself who aren't currently treating somebody. And it's the funny thing is, when you think about it, like if someone gets a clinical director position, at least in my setting, most of the time they weren't treating. So I'm like, you're not questioning them. Like, they just got bumped up to a position, a CEO type position, and you're not questioning it. They're using their skills in kind of, running the team or whatever. And we're still very guided towards healthcare and making healthcare better. But it's just not in the traditional sense. And I feel like that's just hard for people to wrap their brains around because it's outlandish to them. But I think in the same time, like if they actually were to sit down and look at it, they'd be like, oh, yeah, that actually sounds ideal,
Yeah. There's so much more to like healthcare than just like the clinician, and like there's so many like skills that we learn in school besides just treating that can be used in other ways. And I think, like a good takeaway from this is, like if you're currently like going through an identity crisis about, like, oh my gosh, like what if I like change into doing something that's like a non-traditional route? Who am I? Like, if I'm not treating patients, like you're still you're still valuable, and you still have a lot to offer, and just because like you got a degree in a certain thing and there's a traditional route, it doesn't mean that you can't change the path that you're on. And it also doesn't mean that you can't like go back to it. Like, that's the thing is like, I feel like I do, at least for me, I kind of like needed like permission of somebody to say like, it's okay to change what you want to do. That's fine. That's like a normal thing, like for people to like change careers and everything, or just kind of like shift what you are doing in your career. That's totally normal. So if there's any like new grads listening to this, you'll be fine. Everything will be a-okay. I'm pretty sure like myself, Sam, and Taylor, like we basically started working for ourselves as sort of new grads, like right on the cusp of not really being new grads anymore. But yeah. And things will work out. Okay. And so, continuing to talk about like cash practice and like how to make it successful. Like somebody listening to this is, twiddling their thumbs in their car right now thinking, should I do this? And I know I've gotten asked a lot by different people who are interested in this program, like what what is going to make somebody successful in our DPT to CEO program? But like more than that, like what do you guys think is going to make somebody successful in working for themselves and like running their own practice?
Okay, so I think first and foremost, like you said, the mindset shift is huge. Making sure that like you fully like have confidence in yourself that, you know, it's okay if something doesn't work because you're going to learn from it and you're going to move forward. Oh no. But I think like that mindset shift is like step one. Like you've got to get out of your comfort zone and be okay with being uncomfortable and seeking change because it's going to make you better. Just as like an entrepreneur or even just like as a person, like you said, Morgan, just kind of you grow. And I'm trying to think of like anything, just like that self-motivation aspect of things. Like you're the only one that's going to kick yourself in the rear to get things done, to do stuff. And like Sam had mentioned, like it all falls on you. So if you're not getting clients or if you're not seeing the number of people you want to see, making the money you want to make, you're the problem. And you have to figure out how to make yourself not the problem and really like dive into like that self-reflection of is this really what I want? Like, do I want to, you know, be mediocre as an entrepreneur? Do I want to end up having to go back to work because I'm making no money? Like as far as like working in the clinic. So I think self-motivation and definitely that mindset shift of like, it's on you. And as scary as that is, you also aren't being told what to do, which is pretty cool too. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Oh my God. No, I'd say my thing would be, can you commit? You know, do you have commitment issues? And it sounds like a relationship thing, but I think it applies to life in general, is especially when you're starting something new, especially eventually, you know, business ventures, you cannot say a success or a failure, I think less than a year. I think it has to be at least a year, really 2, before you can truly say if you failed or if you succeeded. And so it's almost being able to commit to yourself. If you have commitment issues, I think it would be really difficult to start a business because you're going to want to do something new every 2 weeks because you're going to have all these great ideas, which is awesome. But it also takes time to build something. And very rarely does it happen in 2 weeks, 6 months. You know, it does take time. And so I think, you know, having commitment to yourself and also being able to trust the process. And what I mean by trust the process is being able to create a habit and do it for a year and maybe doing it for 6 months before you see anything come out of it. But being able to do it day in, day out for 6 months and not see anything, you know, get frustrated, but still show up. So I say that those would be the 2, you know, things that I'm looking for in someone that I know is going to be successful, someone who can do those habits every day without fail, and then also commit to themselves.
No, I definitely agree with the, you know, you have to be the person to step up, like things that you don't know about, you know, you're going to have to take the initiative to find out what you need to do. And I mean, that's kind of where we come along as a team alongside you guys to help you figure things out, because you're not going to know everything and you're not expected to. But I'd also say the other thing of just, you know, especially for the people who are just starting out, the people who are the newer, especially the newer grads, like start it, try it, you know, give it the 6 months to a year. And as you're kind of working on it, I mean, Morgan, I feel like you can speak to this, especially like your business has transformed over the 5 years, even like it started off as one thing. I mean, like it's still the same vision and dream, but we've taken a few different avenues of like, okay, this isn't working as much, or I don't like this as much. So don't be afraid to tweak it a bit so that you're finding what you like to do. I think a lot, like, I feel like we come across some of our students who are like, yeah, this isn't working. So I don't know if I made a mistake. And it's just, you kind of have to zero them back in and be like, okay, what's your focus here? And, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly what you started off with. It might change a little bit, and that's, you know, that's okay. That doesn't mean you failed. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, like I feel like it's also like kind of like when you're like treating a patient, and like I know I've had this happen to me where like they come in like presenting with one thing and I think it's, you know, whatever diagnosis A, stuff happens, and then, you know, it's actually like diagnosis B, or they have one injury and now they have 5, you know, like stuff is gonna happen. You know, and you can't always like predict what is going to like come down the path. But yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like it's a very gentle way, Trisha, to say I've changed things a little bit since I got started.
And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
I was just gonna say, I think it's funny because I'm pretty sure there's been like 15 iterations of what I'm doing. And God bless every single person on this call right now, because as I'm like navigating and driving the ship around like icebergs and like launching it off of cliffs and stuff, like you guys, I really appreciate you like, trusting me and being along for the ride. And I think like that's something too, like kind of going off of Trisha, like what you were saying is like, once you like make a decision to start the practice, start the business, you're gonna have an idea, you're gonna try it out, and like Sam was saying, like you have to commit to it for like a certain length of time to really figure out like whether it's going to work, like whether it has legs, and like you can build off of it. And if you're switching things every 2 weeks, like you're not gonna get anywhere. Like you're gonna be like rowing a rowboat with one oar, like, and just going in circles and not really getting anywhere. And so you have to be willing to commit to the things, but also like give yourself grace, knowing that things are probably going to change. And rather than maybe like worrying about the change, like looking at it as just like you're leveling up, you're evolving as a business, and that's normal, that's expected, as somebody who's committed to the business. And I wanted to like also bring up kind of from a conversation that Sam and I had a few weeks ago, and I know like she mentioned it before, but I love this because I think like part of my evolution as well in being a business owner and a clinician too is going from a place of like trying to be very like nice and like soft and gentle and compassionate to trying to be like much more in like the realm of like CEO energy, much more straightforward, much more direct. And like I've definitely learned a lot about like how to be more that way from the three of you. So I appreciate that. And you guys having that energy on this team. But I think like one reason why new practice owners will get like like scared, like get a little bit like shaken at the beginning, is maybe by it like not putting 100% energy into things and being in a place where they're just trying to be like really nice to everybody that they talk to. They are very passive about things rather than trying to take like a proactive role in growing the business. And like Sam said, and I think we should plaster this quote on a t-shirt or something, but like if you want clients, you should act like it. And like having that kind of like snap to attention, I think mentally can be really helpful. It can be a little bit of a reality check, because like we have seen with our clients who take actions on a daily basis, like business days, like daily basis, to consistently talk to new people every day, like the girls have mentioned, putting it out there on a regular routine basis over and over and over and over again that you want clients. That's how you're going to fill your caseload. If you're in a place where you let weeks go by where you don't tell a single soul about what it is you're doing, and you're just waiting by the phone hoping that somebody is going to call you, or if you're in this mindset of, like, oh, I just want a business where I don't have to do anything and just wait for people to come to me, it's not going to happen. So, put that thought out of your mind. But I know it's kind of a lot of rambling, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree. You can be living on the street if that's your mindset.
Yeah. Take notes, you guys. But yeah, and like more so than that, I just like made a post about this a little bit, and it kind of goes along with like what Sam and I talked about too. I think that a lot of new practice owners that I've talked to, I know people have told me about this, and I can think of a few people off the top of my head where they say, like, I want to have my own practice, I want to do my own thing, but I don't want to do sales and I don't want to do marketing. And then in my brain, I say, how are we going to find any clients? And I think like something that you need to know going into this is that if you want to see your own patients, you're going to have to become a salesperson and a marketing person first. And that has to be your focus and priority on a regular basis so that you get to see your own clients. Sam, what do you think about that stuff?
I was about to say that's so true, because whenever I first started, I was really lucky because the tennis and pickleball community in Dallas is so great. And, I knew a decent amount of people. So whenever I posted that I was doing my own thing, that's what I was doing. It was great. I had a lot of word of mouth referrals. But in my head, I was like, well, that's really nice because I didn't feel like I was talking about it that much. But I was playing tennis like 4 times a week. Anybody I met, I was giving out my card. I was talking about what I was doing. I got really comfortable about talking about what I did. I had to post all the time, which I am not a social media gal, but that was something that I learned in the program, is like the intro post of just introducing yourself. And I think something you said, Morgan, was that it's so funny how the human brain works, because in my mind, I lived and breathed this business every day. And so in my mind, everyone knew about it because I was like so obsessed with it. But then I think one day you told me, you're like, how are you going to get clients if no one knows you exist? And, no one in the space knows you exist. And even in Dallas, I mean, it's huge, right? Even the people I knew, it's like a tiny drop in the bucket of potential clients out there. And so I realized that, talking, I honestly say, like, having like 5 conversations a day with people you don't know, such a great way, such an easy way to get new clients. But people are scared to do it, and they think they're talking about it too much. I'm like, no, be obsessed, be ridiculous about it, be delusional about it. But I do think that you have to be a salesman, saleswoman. You have to be a marketer. There's no way around it. If you do truly want to be a CEO and not just a DPT, right, then you have to do everything. And you've got to be a good salesman. And I always tell our clients, if you can sell physical therapy or OT, or you can sell anything, because if you can sell pain and torture, you can sell anything in the world. So I think this program's a great way to just get those skills in order, honestly.
Yeah, and being able to sell like something that's not tangible, right? Like you're selling somebody on like you have a theory that you can get them results. It's not like a specific product that they can see with their eyes right now. So yeah, if you guys can sell that, you'll be fine. You can sell anything. Taylor, what's been your experience, I guess, with this stuff, as far as like marketing and like what you've kind of seen like in the lay of the land?
Yeah, so I think when you talked about even just like committing to yourself for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is, I think it's the same with marketing. I want to say that like as like new practice owners are coming in, it is always a challenge to have them like fully grasp just like how important getting your name out there is. And I've seen this like just working with my own clients outside of DPT to CEO, changing things constantly, trying to like, you don't like this, so you're going to do this. Now I want to do this. When it comes to marketing, is just not, you're not going to see success out of that. Because of the fact that like consistency is what's most important when it comes to just marketing in itself, and showing up every day and trying to just tell people about your business. And I think like that's one of the biggest learning curves when it comes to new practice owners or just really any new business owner, is that marketing is such a huge piece to getting clients, which sounds obvious, but like we get it. We don't just like love, I mean, I don't like talking to hear myself talk, Morgan. I feel like none of us are like that, but like we have to like show up on our own social platforms, on our own whatever communities, to talk to people, to encourage people, to give them free stuff, give them free ideas, free information, in order for like them to respect us, find us credible, find us trustworthy, and all that kind of stuff. And so I think like when coming into this program or just starting a business yourself, like know that like you're going to have to show your face on the internet or no one's going to know that you exist. It's just cut and dry. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And once you start something, stick with it for a significantly long amount of time. Marketing, I feel like I've told people that I've had consult calls with, like it'll take 6 months, you know, or longer for you to see results. And honestly, like at this point, I would probably gonna change my pitch to it's gonna take 12 to 18 months to really like see results that you're wanting to see. So I think just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that marketing and sales, they're not like fancy, like fun things that everyone loves to do, but they are a part of being a business owner. And if that's something that you can't wrap your brain around, it's going to be really hard to be successful in the long term.
Can I actually ask you a question about that? Because I've had some people ask me this, and I want to know what you think about it, Taylor. Is what do you think about like faceless marketing? Because I've had people ask me, you know, is it possible that I can market without showing my face at all? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is possible. I mean, I think you can do it. I think that especially when you're selling a service like therapy or like a solution to a problem, you have to be able to invoke like an emotional response in somebody, and without them being able to see your face and know that you're a real person, that can help them get back to exercising without peeing their pants or playing with their grandkids without, you know, whatever, back pain, man, I don't know, something random. They have to be able to see and know that you're the person that's going to give them that outcome. And so I think like you can do faceless marketing, but I'm like 98% sure that it's going to be not successful as far as like getting clients. And that's just kind of the long and short of it. And people don't care what you look like. People don't care, you know, if you are done up, not done up. I mean, heck, all of Morgan's content, she's chilling in her tank tops. Like, and that's works because people see her for like the authenticism and just the genuine, you know, person that she is. And they're like, oh yeah, I can relate to her. I don't have to be fancy and look cool. And like, and I think like that's maybe one of like the things about the DPT to CEO program that stands out is we're not like in your face and like
we're like mostly normal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people want to see. They want to see normal people telling them normal problems, like, or common problems. So yeah, Sam, you tell whoever asks you that, don't do it.
No, that's a good answer. That's kind of what I was thinking too, but it is just funny because there is that trend of faceless marketing of just like this extremely passive income. I know you get into that space of wanting to be a CEO, and of course you want to go the easy way out, whereas like I think we said this earlier, like the minimum amount of work, or like you don't even need to work 1 hour a week, which like maybe, you know, if you've been in the business for 20 years and you've offloaded everything, but starting out, I just don't think that's reasonable. No. Thank you. That was a good question. That was a good answer.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I was just gonna say too, like I know myself, if I'm looking for like a service provider, like for anything, and I don't know what the person looks like, I'm gonna have like a really hard time like trusting them. You know, like if like you want to work, especially like with like therapy, right? And you're gonna be like in person with somebody. You're gonna get like pretty close to them. Like you're gonna have to like trust each other and stuff. And so like they need to be able to see your face. Or if you're only doing like an online practice too, if people don't see who you are, why would they trust some person from the internet?
Yeah. There's that degree of separation where it's like, because you guys are doing like the individual solo thing, you don't have like this business looking like, you know, oh well, obviously they're regulated by, you know, all the extra stuff that a larger business, a corporate type thing would be. So you have to give them something to trust you.
Yeah. And like for anybody listening, if you don't have a website that somebody can find and your face isn't on there, they're not gonna work. It's just what it is. I mean, I know if I'm looking for somebody, if I can't find that they have a legit website, I'm like, okay, they're not real. Move on.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, like I feel like the only way you would be able to make that work is if you just have like hella word of mouth referrals, and you know, and people are like calling you, I guess, because somebody gave them your phone number. But like for most people who are like starting their own practice, like you're basically starting from ground zero. Like you might have like connections in the community, which is great, but in order to like work with like the volume of customers that you need, you're going to have to figure out how to get more inbound like leads. And so exactly, like website, Google business profile, Instagram. If you don't have any of that, you don't exist.
Yeah.
That's harsh, but it's true.
Very true.
Yeah. And I want to keep going like down the topic of marketing, because that is one of, if not the number one question that I always get. People that I talk to or will comment online and say, okay, you know, like starting a practice is great, but like how to do marketing, you know, what are the secrets? How do I find patients? And you know, we have we have kind of like a two-pronged approach, right? Where like Sam was talking about a little bit earlier, like option one is you talk to a bunch of people every single day, like until further notice. That's one thing. Very simple, lots of work. Or we can create a little bit more of a marketing strategy that will build things up so that we are able to consistently get new eyeballs on our business over time. You know, so creating a little bit more of a marketing plan. But, you know, to you guys, going off of our topic of like trends, I know like Trisha and I have seen like things kind of come and go since these old ladies like first got started 5 years ago. But if somebody were to ask you guys like what's the best way to like market a PT practice and find patients, what would be your like top like 1 to 3 suggestions you think?
So I think I would tell them, like, for starters, like if you want patients fast, you have to go out and get them. You have to go talk to as many people every single day at any like facility or basically anywhere that anybody hangs out that's within like your target population. And that's the fastest way, but like you said, it's so much more work. And then like on the flip side of things, digital marketing is definitely work, but the like longevity of it and like the fact that like you do it one time and it's there forever is, which we can get into the technicalities of how long content actually lives, but we're not going to right now. I think like social media marketing is huge. I think you need to have a YouTube and an Instagram. Like those are the top two that I would say, like if you're trying to figure out like, okay, where do I start? Those are the two platforms that you need to be on constantly, consistently, telling about your practice, telling about the services you offer, how you help people. And then that's going to take longer. So it's either you do all this work to go talk to people, or you pick these two platforms that you're going to have to invest long-term in. And that's how I would tell somebody to market. And both kind of suck. I mean, honestly, they're not easy.
Yeah, and none of it really is, but I guess that's like part of, you know, like what you're signing up for. Like what's easy is staying in a job that you hate because it's theoretically secure. You know, but I don't think any of us like got into healthcare to have an easy career. So you guys can probably do hard stuff.
Absolutely.
Sam, what do you think? Yeah. How to market therapy?
How to market therapy? I am honestly kind of a little bit about what I coach too, is I'm a huge community builder. I think that is so important. And it's been really important for my practice. And that's why mine has grown, because I do try to build my community as much as possible. Like Taylor said, it's probably like the most uncomfortable thing to do, because you have to go in person, you got to leave your house. And you, like for me, I just go play tennis and pickleball, which is fun for me. But then, you know, when people ask what you do, then you still have to talk about yourself. You still have to be confident and make the sale if it's appropriate, right? But I do think that for me, that's what's worked the best. And that is what I like to preach. I do social media still. Obviously, like my Instagram is probably my number one, like Taylor said. I do agree, Instagram and YouTube make the most sense. But yeah, I think my Instagram, I'll get cold leads from it and it'll work. I've even had people come up to my car when I'm leaving someone's home and ask what I do. So like car decals and things like that. But I would say community building for me. And this program, we do something called the 100 Challenge. I think it's like the crux of marketing for us is asking 100 people or telling 100 people what you're doing. And I think it is it sounds so simple, but it works. And I've seen it work over and over and over again. It definitely worked for me whenever I did it a year ago. And so I would say that, especially when you're in a service-based industry, I think community is so important. And if you are doing PT or OT or speech or a chiro, you still need a referring provider network. You still need to be working with other professionals, because there's going to be times when you're referring out, they're referring to you. So I don't think that you could ever ignore community. You can never be a standalone, in my opinion, and especially healthcare. So I would say community building, number one.
Yeah, I love that. And I have also started introducing this thing to people, which I typically like bring it up with people who want to work in like sort of like the fitness realm, whether it's like CrossFit or bodybuilding or powerlifting or just like gym goers. Like that's kind of like the niche that you want to do with your practice. Is it's kind of like level 2 of the 100 challenge, and going off of this whole like vibe of like, if you want a successful business, like you better act like it. I like, to me, that means like acting like a shark and like being like very like assertive and aggressive about like going after what you want. And so like another like fun little like challenge and activity that you could do is like over the course of a week, better would be a month. I'm telling people it's called like Gymshark month. We're not currently sponsored by Gymshark, but if Gymshark wants to reach out to us, they can. But Gymshark month, where you spend the entire month like looking up and scheduling different opportunities to go and work out at different gyms, like all with the like initial, I guess, like intention of just going and checking things out, like checking out the vibe in the community, seeing what the people are like there, you know, seeing if there are like any opportunities for the business, but not putting pressure on yourself to try to like pitch to these other businesses. Like you just go in there like incognito and participate in the classes or use the gym and see if you like it, you know. And I'm talking about like scheduling like 3 to 5 classes a week. And then that way, like you really are putting yourself out there in the community if you don't already have kind of like a foothold somewhere, and figure out, you know, like where you feel the most comfortable and where you've gotten to make friends and new connections. And it'll help to really like give you more momentum and build off of what you've done with the 100 challenge. And at the very worst, like you're gonna have the fittest month of your life. So like,
say you're like body transformation, company transformation.
Oh my gosh, we should. We can make all the promises here.
Partner with ClassPass.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny.
Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I lived in Dallas, I felt like there were so many facilities that would like give you like a free, like come for one class for free. So you don't have to spend money to do it. I mean, you have to like drive there maybe, but like, I don't know how many, because like when I was there, I was in grad school, so I was poor as all get out. And so we would just like go to free classes all the time because that's how we worked out if it wasn't in like the school gym. So, I mean, I think that's genius, Morgan.
Thank you.
But yeah, you're so right. Everywhere, like Pilates, spin, like Lifetime, every workout is free the first time. You do have to listen to the spiel. So you have to be good at saying no if you don't want to buy a bunch of memberships. But other than that, you'll be good to go.
That's fair.
Yeah. You know, and yeah, and maybe you will find somewhere that you do want to work out, which like, you know, good for you. Like personally, great. You know, but then you'll have a bunch of people that you can talk to. You know, and like I said, key component is don't go into it thinking like I have to pitch my business to whatever 20 different places that I'm working out. Just be a regular normal person and exercise and then figure out, you know, if you want to pursue things after that. And that'll be good. Trisha, how do you market stuff? Yeah.
So I have like just this one phrase in my head, and it's from New Girl, which is terrible. It's Winston. But he's like, just be there. Like, I don't know if you know what episode I'm talking about, but it's like, be there in every situation that you possibly can be. So from a VA's perspective, it was, especially when we first got started, it was join every Facebook group that you could possibly think of and participate, be there. If it's, Sam, in your case, being at every tennis and pickleball event that you could possibly be there. And I think when you start to do that, like you said, you kind of create this community and you start to figure out, you start to get to know the people. I mean, Morgan's been at her CrossFit gym, didn't even start off that way as, thinking of it as a marketing perspective, I'm assuming, because you were doing CrossFit for as long as I can think back.
My entire life, since I was a baby.
Yeah. came out doing that. But you get to know people, and then you kind of build this rapport, and you get to more naturally market, I guess, especially for people who are afraid of the traditional, if they think sales and marketing, they think of like a car salesman. You don't necessarily have to come across like that. You can do it just by being present and participating. You can't just like join a Facebook group and then sit back and hope that they're calling you. That's, no different than just saying like, okay, I threw a website up. Here's hoping that they call me. That doesn't work. You have to do something. So
yeah, I think that's really great advice. And it kind of like goes along with like something else that I think is really important is that like if you want patients and clients to trust you and invest in you and spend their money with you, like you have to like start the relationship by investing in them and investing your time in showing up. Like Trisha was saying, like you have to show that you are committed and serious to whatever it is, in order for people to get to trust you. And it like if you expect them to like commit to their plans of care or whatever, you also have to like lead by example. And I think that's like a really good intention for your business too.
I like that a lot. Just be there. It's a very simple way of putting it, for sure. I like that.
Yeah, good old Winnie the Bish.
I know.
Winnie the
Bish. I know exactly what episode you're talking
about. Such a not great episode to pick from, but that's literally all I can hear. So.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, that show is so good. Cool. Yeah. And so like overall, like marketing stuff, like I think that there like a lot of people get like really bogged down in the details of like, what should I be posting on Instagram? How much? Like, do I need to do paid advertising and whatever? Like all these like tools or like tactics, I suppose. But there's so much like mindset stuff up top, strategy that goes into it, investing time into building relationships first, that is really going to help you get the most out of whatever other tools you end up using. So don't focus so much on like, let me make the perfect graphic for Instagram. Focus more on like being there, making the first, I guess, like outreach to people, to talk to them. And then, you can worry about your graphics. And Taylor makes great graphics, just FYI. But if you are curious about tools and everything, something that Trisha and I definitely saw when we first got started, Facebook was like all the rage, like for everything, like organically. It basically has tanked. From our experience, it's really like organically, it's not super helpful for most people. It's okay. But we have really been focusing a lot more of our efforts this past year on Instagram. And, I think with all of us, like we are seeing a much higher like return on that investment, I suppose. With Instagram, YouTube is definitely like a bigger platform to take on, but like since like we started putting up YouTube videos several years ago, they live for such a long time that like all the effort we put into videos 3 years ago like are still paying off now. So I think it is definitely a good investment. Something else that I've been telling practice owners too is that I think getting into posting blogs on their website is really helpful for SEO. And with the invention of ChatGPT, like you don't even have to do it 100% manually anymore. Back like when Trisha and I were in the dark ages. Like it just, I look at some of like our content from way back, Trisha, and I'm like, we hand wrote all of this.
Yeah. The hours put into things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's much, much easier now to add blog posts to your website to continue to help like Google get more context about what your business is. And when people go to search for their problems, your website's more likely to come up. So that is really helpful. And I don't think email marketing should be slept on. That's kind of, I would say, like more advanced, but definitely something to include. And maybe more in the long term, getting into advertising can be helpful as well. But please, for the love of God, like if you don't know how to use the Facebook ads manager, do not dump $1,000 into it before deciding you shouldn't do ads. Please ask for help. Like even if you go to YouTube and do like a follow along, like please, because Facebook will not tell you that your ads are trash. They will just take your money. So yeah, I cannot say that with enough emphasis. Please ask for help with advertising, so that you can get the most out of it. Anything else in marketing stuff?
Not at the moment, no.
We covered it. Yeah.
Yeah, you are gonna have to do marketing if you want to have patience. So just let that marinate and jump in. Okay, and let's see. I'm trying to think about like if there are any other trends that we are seeing. I know like the marketing one was definitely like a big piece that I wanted to bring up as far as just like different like platforms that we've seen change in the past 5 years. I don't know if it's more so that like our reach overall has been growing, but it feels like to me, compared to when I first started my practice 5 years ago, there are a lot more PTs getting into doing their own practices. It doesn't really seem to be as like far-fetched of an idea anymore. And I guess going along with that too, I don't think I've had somebody ask if I take insurance in like 2 years. And part of that I think is because just the like reputation with where I'm at and like people know who I am. But I don't think patients really care that much either. What do you guys think?
I 100% agree. I think it is the cash-based, health entity is way more common these days. Especially, I don't know if it's just the population that I treat, tennis women usually have money, country clubs, and so I'm not the only cash-based practitioner they do see, and they do still carry insurance, but I think that's kind of more of an overall healthcare in America, the shift, personally, is that people are more willing to go cash-based because it's better care, and in the end of the day, a lot of times it's saving you money. A lot of my patients, their PT deductibles are insanely high. It's cheaper to see me once a week versus go pay your whatever copay 3 times a week at an outpatient clinic. So I do think that it might just be more of a shift in America of like people wanting the concierge care. I have someone who refers to me, she's a functional medicine doctor. She's only cash-based. She charges a membership fee every month, not cheap. And she does very well for herself because people want to people want to live longer and they want to live until the day they die. And health is becoming, I think, a priority, whereas maybe in the past it wasn't as much so. So I think it is maybe a little bit of a mindset shift in the client and also in the practitioner. So I don't know what y'all think.
I definitely agree with that. Like even my my primary care doctor is it's the same thing. We have a monthly fee, but I can literally text him whenever I want. I can get answers, and I feel like I have his attention whenever I absolutely need him. And I feel like that's where that concierge, it's so different compared to what people are seeing in the clinic. It's, especially outpatient, it's not uncommon that there's always 4 people on, in that 1 half hour, whatever it is. Even from a subacute perspective, it was, groups were getting larger, concurrent was getting more frequent. And I had rather sick patients where they're like, I just want you with me. And, they were getting a new PT every other day and different, but if you can just get one therapist who's focusing on you, they're going to get better faster. Like, who does not want that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think that it just kind of goes without saying that like the quality care is going to be better when you're not sharing your time with multiple people. But But I absolutely agree. I know for like example, my parents have been to therapy recently, and I think their copay is like $50 a visit, which I mean, I would say like probably average cash visits, what, 150, 200 around, I mean, depending on where you live. But they're, like you said, Trisha, they're kind of bounced around. And you know, if we can get people better faster because we're giving them better quality care, they're either going to spend less money or they're going to spend the exact same money. And I feel like that's a huge incentive. So no, I agree. I think it's definitely a healthcare shift. We're seeing that the healthcare system, unfortunately, is broken. And I think one of my friends texted me last week and was asking if I knew of any speech, like cash speech therapists in the area that I live. And so if anybody is, let me know, because I don't know anybody as of now. But she said she was looking at the cost of like going to the local hospital to have her kid do speech services in the outpatient clinic there. And I think they bill out like $650 for like an eval and treat. And depending what insurance you have, some people have a copay, some people have to pay. If you have like a high yield savings account, you're going to pay the cost of the service until you reach like your max out of pocket kind of thing. So that's crazy. Like when you can spend $150, $200 and actually get good care. So
not to mention for that, they're probably on an insane wait list sometimes. Like,
yeah,
especially
absolutely.
as you get more specialized, it's like, oh, I can see you in 3 months. No, find somebody who is solo who can see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so in I'm living in rural Kansas, which y'all know, but we have one pelvic PT, one in like a 45-minute to an hour like drive radius. And so like I had a family member that went or needed services, and it was like a 3-month waiting period for her to get in. And I was like, by that point, either she's already going to be just better naturally, or like it's going to be so bad that they're at their wits' end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think here, so I started seeing a pelvic floor patient, what was this, earlier this year, I think. And she came to me because she said the pelvic floor PT that she was referred to had a 14-month wait.
No way.
Holy cow.
How do you even have a wait that long?
I mean, she could have another baby in that time.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Like,
wow.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, cool. I can see you next week.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is crazy. I feel it like just like consumers, like our patients they are becoming more aware of all the options that are available to them. And I think, this can also kind of feed back into our marketing discussion when it comes to creating content and putting yourself out there. I think it's important to educate people on like the experience that they can have with you, and what that looks like and why it may or may not be a good fit for what they're looking for. Because they might also, besides just not knowing that like you exist, they might not know that what you have to offer is different, and could be a better fit for them. So, making sure to add that stuff and put that out there, I think can be important as well. Yeah. So, as we are kind of wrapping up our discussion for today, this episode, I believe, unless something changes, probably going to come out in December. And so for everybody listening, I'm sure you're kind of like in a mood where we're getting ready for the holidays and kind of thinking about what our New Year's resolutions are going to be. And so I guess like my question to you, you guys here is, looking forward into 2025, what are you going to be focusing on in your own business?
Sam, you go.
Okay, put me on the spot like that. So I am looking to scale. So I have my first year of business this year. I still consider September to September. I was working on, really getting good systems in places and making sure that everyone who I was, and doing basically all the roles. And so next year I'm looking to scale my caseload a little bit, and then also maybe outsource some things that I don't know, right? And I'm finally able to be at that point in my business. So yeah, kind of taking on a little bit more of the CEO role and not just treating all the time.
Cool. Great.
Trisha, do you want me to
You
go?
want to go too? I can if you want. I can go.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'd say for 2025, I think kind of my goal, my vision is I'm kind of laying groundwork for future stuff of, right now I have, one kid in school, one kid that's home with me. So that kind of is part of the reason why I narrowed down to just Morgan. And I think as we're approaching, the years of both kids being in school, just kind of planning and preparing for what do I want to kind of transform this into. I've talked to Morgan a couple of times about like just some ideas, some visions of what I'd like to do when there's more time available and don't have like a 3-year-old interrupting me in the middle of work. But yeah, I think 2025 is going to be just kind of vision boarding what's coming and kind of laying the groundwork, I'd say.
Yeah. Cool. Dr. Kirk?
Yeah, so I feel like more than anything, like going into like just working for myself, my whole goal was to be able to have more flexibility and have a family, raise my family, all that kind of stuff. And so I think really like rather than trying to like grow my business in 2025, I want to focus on how I can better mold my business to fit the lifestyle that like I want for me and my own children. And that's not like super motivating, I feel like, as far as for students that are trying to start their own practice. But I think it's, just this stage of life or season of life that, when you go through these different things, like being an entrepreneur gives you the opportunity to make things work in that specific season that you're in. And so I think that's kind of my goal, because personally, I feel like I've been more disorganized now than I have been in my entire life. And in the beginning, it was like super anxiety inducing. And now it's just like, it is what it is. I'm doing my best. It's going to be fine. So yeah, 2025 is going to be a lot of just like, I want to do stuff that makes me happy. Like I want to work, but I also want to prioritize my family. And that's kind of where we're at.
I still think that's super motivating.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
I was
no,
like,
I'm
I love that for you. I don't know. I felt excited for you on that.
But like Morgan, you can speak to this. Our students are not just like, hey, I just came out of PT school and or whatever, healthcare school, and I'm ready to start my own business. There are people who have families. Like you talk about like you want real life experience. You like we're out here trying to survive by having a job and having kids and whatever. And these two eventually will join the mom club and have to deal with it as well. But like you've got people who that's their dream, is to be home with their kids and not be working till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night or on the weekends and they don't see their kids. I think that's super motivating still.
And I do want to add something, and I don't know if this is going to sound salesy or not, but yesterday was seriously one of those days where I had a full day of things that I was doing, and I took a minute at like 1:27 p.m. and I was just not working in an outpatient clinic, and I was like, it's a random, what was it yesterday? Wednesday. And I just felt so lucky that I did this, because I could not imagine my life or like my day looking like that in the past. And so I will say there is nothing more rewarding than having the freedom of your own time and being able to decide what you want to do with every hour of your life. It feels longer. You actually feel like you have 7 days of the week, and that's something I never thought I would have. So yeah, that is the one thing that if you get anything out of it, it's that.
Yeah. I think that's all like really like great stuff to bring up, because like, and this is probably going to sound like a pitch for this program, but there are a lot of coaching programs out there that are going to promise you the world. They're going to promise you multi-location clinics with tons of different clinicians, make $3 million like your first year in practice, and blah 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 blah. And that's an option. If that's what you want, you can do that. But a lot of our students really value like their time, like they value being able to like take their lives back and like fit the business around their lives rather than trying to live in the spare time that they have outside of the clinic. And it's just I feel the same way, Sam. Like even sometimes when I get stressed because I'm like, there's so much to do, I am like but I'm living my life. Like, this is what it's like to live and like to be in control of everything and like do what I want to do. Yeah, and I think like that there is like a ton of value in that. So I think these are all great goals. It's going to be amazing. You know, and I definitely want us to keep being able to like reach more practitioners and work with more clinicians next year to help more people be like us. Doing our best. I'm pretty sure me and Trisha like text each other that every week, probably.
Yep.
Like,
especially while
everything's a
Taylor was on
disaster.
maternity leave.
Yeah.
Bless
Or
you.
just
Trisha.
like everything's fine. But it really
Are you
is.
okay over there?
Yeah. Yeah, but like it really is. Everything is great. Like, you know, we're getting to do stuff that we love and get to meet amazing new people, which is really cool. So anyway, I hope that, you know, you listening to this, so you were able to take something away from this episode. You know, we talked about like some different trends that we're seeing as far as like marketing goes. Just get over having to do sales. You're gonna have to do it. And you know, really like a lot of the mindset stuff that needs to be shifted in order to succeed in this world. And you know, like if you're looking for help, we can help you with this stuff. So yeah, I think on that note, do you guys have any like last pieces of advice that you want to offer to our listeners?
Just do it, Nike.
Like that, exactly. Also,
Nike can also sponsor us. Sorry, Taylor, what did you say?
That's what I said. I said Nike, we're here to be sponsored. If you're ready.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Alrighty.
Other than
cool.
that, I was going to say just head over to morganmeese.com, you know.
Yes.
Just the last, you know.
morganmeese.com/DPT to CEO.
I knew it.
Yeah, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. And you know, you guys here, our DPT to CEO team, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, and listeners, we will talk to you on the next episode.